I would like to welcome you to Universal Dementia Caregivers monthly Lunch and Learn. So every month we have a discussion with caregivers about some issue that's important to you. And so today our topic is, I said we're going to do it, we have grown as caregivers since the first day that we became caregivers. We've grown. There's sometimes we don't believe that, but we have grown in our work. And there are millions of us unpaid caregivers that are supporting our families. Many of us support our families in this group with loved ones who are living with dementia. But imagine how many more caregivers there are out there that are not receiving any assistance or support. And I wanted to make sure that as we did work together, those of you that know me, Mom and Dad are my source and inspiration, and you help me continue the work that I think it's important for caregivers. Both of my parents had dementia-related diseases. Mom had Alzheimer's, and Dad had vascular dementia. So knowing that, my role was to step in that space, fill that space, and make sure that their lives, the end of their lives, were the best days of their lives. And so that was my goal, and this is kind of when you do something, you kind of say, this is my purpose now, to talk to caregivers, to experience with caregivers, to share knowledge. I'm a psychologist by training, and this was just a perfect walk for me to move into this work. So let me just start a little bit. So we're going to talk about where you are in terms of the development of your skills as a caregiver. I'm going to do a quick assessment. It's your assessment. You don't have to give it to any of us. And we're going to open it up to just general questions about dementia, caregiving, and that whole 9 yards. But I will not end without us saying, I want to create a wall of success. There are successes in the room. How many of you feel like you're doing something that's worthy? Let me see. How many of you feel like you're doing something and you're doing it pretty good? And you may not be perfect, of which there's no such thing as a perfect caregiver. And if you're thinking that, we got to change your mind. The goal is to do the best you can every day, and we welcome you to this space today. So let me start by saying, let me just ask, how many of you, when you first got started in this role of caregiving, knew that's what you were doing? I mean, you actually knew it, okay? So you walked in, this is what I'm going to do, I'm caring for my mother. How many of you kind of started, though, what happened was you just started doing things? Well, I kind of spent a little more time at the house, or I started picking up groceries or taking things here or doing little things. And at some point you said, oh my gosh, this is taking up more and more of my time. And many caregivers start their journey just like that, not realizing that this is big. Once you start this journey and that's your role, it can consume you if you let it. And I said, if you let it, and we can't allow it to consume us. So some of us, we started cooking more, we started picking up medication, dropping things off at the cleaners, started paying bills, just a wide range of things that were taken up doing what we did. And started making sure the house was right, and you made sure that there were locks on the doors. You know, if the house started changing and their physical needs changed, you would make adjustments. In my mother's and father's house, I put in ramps because I realized that they couldn't do the steps anymore. So ways to do things to help make life better for them. And so what we learned, and let me ask you, just some general things. What have you learned since you started being a caregiver? I need some positive stuff. What have you learned? The importance of being patient. Absolutely. It helps you and them, doesn't it? Good. Thank you. Yes, ma'am. Pick your battles. That's a great point because there are enough battles every day, and we don't have to talk about the ones yesterday. Every day you have a whole new set of battles to deal with. Pick your battles. Yes, ma'am. With a loved one living with dementia, the behavior starts in one place, and it continues and it changes over time. So if you think you're comfortable, all of a sudden, I got this. I know this part right here. I've seen this before. Here comes a new behavior, and you're like, and I say your skills can still work. You just have to transfer that set of skills. Somebody else, something you have learned as a caregiver. Yes, ma'am.
I ended up having to be an advocate for.
She said she had to end up being an advocate. And there are stages of development in the life of a caregiver, and advocacy is one of the roles. And so, and advocacy means I'm talking to the hospital, I'm talking to the doctors, I'm talking about medication, I'm going to the bank to make sure they get paid. You know, all the things you become the voice of our loved one. And what happens is sometimes we get uncomfortable with that, especially when our loved one has dementia and they say, stay out of my business.
You're really right.
Yeah, stay out of my business. But you know the disease is such that that's okay that they say that, because oftentimes they don't mean it anyway. Yes, I saw a hand. Yes, sir.
Oh, I was saying, being patient.
Yes, being patient. And more patient over time. And I said not only being patient with your loved one, I got to be patient with me. I need to be kind to me. Because sometimes we think we're supposed to know it all, do it all, and be all, which means I'm putting a lot of pressure on myself. Okay? Anything else someone would like to share on what you've learned? Yes, sir.
Learn to listen. Okay.
Learn to listen. And let me reinforce that. Listening is not preparing to speak. Y'all know what I mean? Somebody talking and you thinking in your head, I can't wait till they shut up so I can tell them my opinion. That is not listening. Listening is really taking and simply being present in the moment with the person that you're engaging. And sometimes you just have to slow yourself down to even serve that role. Anybody else? Yes, ma'am. And I'll come here. Yes. She said, not feeling guilty. Were you in our last session when we talked about guilt? Okay. I have a model on how we manage that. If you don't have that material, let me know. So the question is, the statement was not feeling guilty. And we feel guilty because we think we're supposed to do everything right all the time. And with a loved one with dementia, you might feel like you might get mad. And then you walk away like, I'm not supposed to get mad with her. Well, we do. You're still human. And you aired a moment, and then you stepped back, caught yourself, and then I went forward from there. Yes, ma'am.
Knowing or witnessing that they are in a different world than we are.
She said, noticing and understanding that they are in a different world than we are, which is absolutely correct. Too often, as caregivers, do you do this? Sometimes want to just bring them back into your space? Want them to kind of just be able to, let me rationalize it for you. I'm just going to explain why you can't do that. No, I just need to tell you it don't make sense. And here you are trying to have a conversation on a rational level with someone that's in advanced stages of dementia who does not understand necessarily. And I always like using this. And then some of us even argue with them. And I said, if there was a picture somewhere of a person with a brain disease and a person with a healthy brain arguing with each other, I would laugh. It would be an interesting cartoon, wouldn't it? But you have to grow and learn that you don't need to do that, because they no longer can rationalize or use rational thought depending on the stage of development they are in the disease cycle. And that's important. That can be so frustrating. I told him he needed to take his medicine. And he said, I don't need no medicine. I'm not sick. You really do need to take your medicine. No, you need a bath. I don't need a bath. I don't need no bath. I took a bath 5 minutes ago. No, and this you going back and forth. No, you didn't take a bath 5 minutes ago. Yes, I did. I'm fine. Then the same clothes you had on last week. Nope, not the same clothes. You must be having problems. And so I'm one who says every now and then you just got to step back away from this rational thinking and say, here's a loved one that does not understand that conversation. How do I get into their world? Versus trying to bring them back into an explanation of why you need a bath. Okay. Yes, sir.
First of all, you can't bring it back into your world because they're in theirs. And secondly, I live with a situation every day. And my sister doesn't say anything. We don't talk at all. She don't communicate with me, but I fix her breakfast, lunch, dinner, whatever else the
Okay.
case is. And I said, hey, sweetie, here's your breakfast. She's over there, and I'm right here. But at the same token, I say, well, I just put it down and let her do her thing. But I noticed, if it's in front of her, she's not going to eat it when I'm standing there. When I walk away, I hear that plate hit, that fork hitting that plate. But I let her do her thing because I don't want to force her to come to my world. So I let her do her thing.
What he just did is he said, I learned something. He said, now, he didn't say this, but what he was saying, through problems and trying to feed her and not being successful, I learned that I can't put the food in front of her and stand there. Because you are learning every day and you become so knowledgeable about your loved one, but you also become knowledgeable about what you can tolerate, what issues you have, because if you have any issues, it's going to bring them out. And I always say I'm gonna make a shirt that says I've got issues. And on the back of it I said, so do you. I can see this shirt. I just haven't produced it. I'm gonna come to the two hands and say, yes, ma'am, Miss Gentry.
Not only are we learning, but you are amiss if you do not pass it on. I'm a retired teacher, and I'm not a caregiver, but this information, I'm passing it on. I know
Yes.
people who are caregivers, and I have told this lady, her name, Elma, and I have told her a lot of things that you have taught. So pass it on. Just don't say,
Right.
I have learned.
Right.
No, pass it on because
Right.
you're at the age where other people need this information.
Yes, and some of us may not be caring for a loved one with dementia, but you may need care at some point. And I want to make sure that we train people and, as you say, pass the knowledge on to other people, so that because as much as I think I can teach, sometimes the teaching you provide is even better. Is even better. Jim, what were you going to say?
What I was going to say is that with the patients, you have to really think about it and do it. What I found is that the mother would say this, and this. But I see him, and Dad could be honest.
Yeah.
He would sit up and he get some shoulders and things up. I leave it alone. But I talk about things that he and I did.
Right.
Things, and then he'll say to me, I'm ready to take you.
Okay. So, again, his lesson was, person needed a bath. I didn't just say it's time to take our bath. Because he learned through experience that he wasn't going to do it. What he would do is approach. If it didn't work then, he went away. We could take the bath later. Then his dad would come to him and say, I need a bath. Sometimes it works that well. Other times you feel like it's a whole week before you can get him to participate.
Trust me, that's a fight. You want to hit me, I'll hit you back.
No, you didn't say that.
No. I said, you know what? If you don't mind walking around like that, then I'm going to let you do you.
No, what he cleared it up, y'all. He ain't hitting nobody. What he said was, at some point you do feel frustrated. And what you do is you walk away from that moment. Because the issue is, eventually, they go somewhere in there, you're going to figure out how to give that person a bath. You might have to call it a spa day. You may have to incentivize them into the bathroom with music. You may have to have the room perfectly warm the way they need it to be warm. That means you're sweating like a pig because it's hot. So remember, it's their bath, not yours. Okay, because sometimes we are dealing with our convenience, and it's really not our convenience. It's what works for them.
Can I say one thing?
Okay.
In the Bible it says, once an adult, twice a child. They've converted to that, but they connect very well with children because that's where their mindset is.
Well, let me say this. He says that his experience is that his loved one has the ability to really connect to children and pets. Well, a lot of people who are ill connect to animals and children. You know why? They're not judgmental. They're totally accepting. They give them the space. And they're vulnerable when they approach you. Where, I'm smart. I'm not going to approach you like that. You might slap me. Okay, but so the issue is honoring that one of the things that's so important in a learning for me, how you approach with your energy and your spirit makes a difference. It makes a difference. I've always heard people say animals know when you're scared. Well, I think older adults and people that are ill have an extra sense too. I have no research on that. That's just my opinion. All right, so we've learned a number of things. We are more patient, as you've said. Here's a list of some that we put together. You're more patient, focused on, some of you are now focusing more on your health because you're realizing the stress that you're living under, and there's some indicators that suggest there's some risk factors for Alzheimer's. What are the risk factors? Age. Come on, work with me. We've done this one before. Risk factors for Alzheimer's. Diabetes. Health. Toxins and chemicals in your stream. Not sleeping well. There's a stress. So we're starting to think about, I have to be healthy myself in order to care for anybody else. So if you're not, please, 5 pillars. I'm going to do it. Sleep. So write these down. These are things that are in your control. Sleep. And so I don't mean you got to sleep 24/7. You need to have good sleep when you sleep. Okay? You need to eat better. So if you decide, if you're diabetic and your favorite food is candy, please know it's going to get you at some point. All right? So eat better. And I'm not trying to tell you what to eat, but it's recommended that the Mediterranean diet is one of the better ones that people recommend. So just eat better. The third pillar is, we said sleep, eat, exercise. Some of you all are dancers. Some of you are morning walkers. And if you can't do either, get you one of those little things you put under the table. And what are they called? The little, what are they called? And then you'll pedal on it. Get something where you can exercise because your heart is being engaged. It's keeping the oxygen flowing in your body, which are key elements. Socialize. Did you ever think that socializing could help you in terms, because you're engaging your brain, hopefully you're socializing with people you like. Socialize is implied that you like them. So you're being with folks that you like, you're using your brain, and we all have a need to connect with others. I've done, how many have I done, yeah? Okay, there's 6. Exercise. I've got this model in my head, I can see it. Just keep your brain stimulated. Read, puzzles, garden. What else are you all doing? Reading, puzzles, gardening, playing on the computer? Classes, learn something new. Hobbies, doing something. Not just sleeping and allowing the TV to entertain you. Sometimes we go through those phases. But just don't let it last too long. Yes, ma'am.
Deep breathing, I go to yoga and I find out I'm healthy. Deep breathing is very, very good for you.
Yes. And I would put that under deep breathing and connected. If you have a spiritual place in your life, that spiritual place is really important for you. So I don't know if it means going to church. I don't know if it means meditating. I don't know what it means for you. You need to spend some time they're all elements of taking care of you. If you can travel, yes. One of the challenges I hear caregivers say is that I don't have time, I don't have anybody. That's the time you need to look for somebody to help you with respite support. If you don't know the term, know that respite is about finding a place and a time where you can have your own personal time out. And if you're there at the house 24/7 and you're working a job, you've got too many things on you, your stress levels are high, you have got to find a respite experience. And there are dollars around for that. Yes, ma'am. Sir. I'm fine. They can't hear you.
Oh, okay. I'm a person that come up with all different type of things. And one thing I like to do is to dream and then express that dream. Is that something?
What do you mean? Just like you go to sleep and you're dreaming, or you're dreaming?
It's not a sleeping.
Okay. It's allowing yourself to just focus on things that you'd like or places you'd like to go. Or it's a daydream of sorts.
It's a floating into your mind.
He calls it a float into your mind. I kind of like that.
I mean, I can come in here, I can enjoy people, I smile, I laugh, I want to have fun, and so that keeps me going.
That's great. That keeps them going. And you're with you. Right. You are in tune with your own self and your own spirit. And if you got peace in your spirit, you couldn't ask for much more than that. Yes. Yes, ma'am. She said you could draw, you could paint. That's not music. I was going to say, I don't have any gifts in my hands, but I can play music. We could do that. So as a caregiver, I've learned some things. So it's not like this is just every day is a tough day. We have done some things. We're learning some things. And what I'd like to do is I gave you a one-page assessment. I want you to read through that and fill it in for me and identify the categories that reflect who you are in terms of where you are right now as a caregiver. And remember I said you start in one place as a caregiver and you continue to grow. And so I'm going to give you like 5 minutes. If you need a pencil, hopefully everybody has a writing tool. If not, raise your hand and we'll try and find you one. Yes, ma'am. Loved one. Okay. On the form it says LO is loved one. Shorthand, I was conserving on space. Give you a few minutes to fill it out for us. Diane, do we have any extra pens at the table, please?
I'll get a couple.
And Furman, why don't we give ourselves 5 minutes while they fill out the form? Just check it, and if it fits you. Really thinking about where you are right now. Okay. Some of them may not, because you may not be at the early stages, and you got those things under wrap. everybody doing? And you don't have to check all of them. Only check the ones that apply to where you are right now. So some of them will probably be blank. Everyone done? Now, it looks like people need a couple more minutes.
Sometimes I gotta handle, sometimes it's like, woo. That's what I'm right to be exactly where I am right now. This last one is where I am right now.
So then all the other
Seeking support from a variety of sources. Some of these, you know, it's like a back and forth. Last week I wasn't there, but today, it's like a roller coaster.
And if you are one of those folks sitting there saying, I'm all of these, depending on what day it is.
I'm
I
looking
just
at
want to,
those.
I want to kind of show you what the cycle looks like.
Uh-huh.
And once you see the cycle, we then start thinking about, what do I need?
That's right.
Because each cycle, you have different needs depending on the cycle. Young woman Henry said, the one here is I need resources, but I also need this, I need this, I need this, and that's okay. The goal, and you see that I put on it, the goal of this is conversation.
I love that.
The goal is conversation. Because every now and then you need to slow down enough to assess how you're doing. And that's what the goal of this little tool is.
Question?
Nobody never asks how we do. They always ask
Ask
about
The other
loved
way.
one
Right.
in a situation. They never ask how you doing.
And many caregivers say that. And it's important that you have a support group of people around you that will say to you, how you doing today?
That's right.
And won't spiral with it. Sometimes we have buddies that spiral with it. Girl, my mom's crazy. Yes, she is crazy. Mine is too. And then y'all just on your way down this spiral emotional hole. Okay?
No pity party. That's
So it's not, I don't need somebody to do that. I need somebody to say, girl, I know it's tough. What did you try today? This is what I tried yesterday. And what you're doing is you're lifting each other up while sharing ideas on how to do things. Let me check. Is everybody finished yet? Yes? Okay. I'll grab your question. I don't know if you can see this, but I need you to,
Yeah, that is tight.
somewhere in there, I'd like you, there's some paper in the center, some plain sheets of paper. If you want to quote unquote score this, let me tell you what the steps are. These are the stages. And once I go through them, we're gonna go back and kind of assess how, where you're going. Stage one is anticipation, and I will walk through each of these to tell you all six. Stage two is adjustment. Stage three is identification. 4 is advocacy. 5 is exhaustion. And 6 is transition. Now I'm gonna go back and talk to you about what's in each of those stages. And you all, we can talk together on what's needed as we progress. So let's go with first, anticipation. Anticipation is those persons in the room that really are just getting started with their role as caregivers. They're getting started with the role. They are kind of wondering what's up, not sure how to do what they're doing, where the resources are. They are in the process of just kind of saying, what's the future going to be about? How's this going to look 5 years from now, if 5 years from now actually exists? care team. You need a support team. You cannot do this alone. Let me say that again. You cannot do this alone. You should be looking for support teams like this. There are people in your community that can support you. Any family members that can support you. Because sometimes with someone with dementia, at this stage of the work, they may not even believe that they have dementia.
Yeah.
And if they don't, what happens is it becomes frustrating for you and them. Because you're trying to figure out a way for them to talk to them that you have dementia. And because it affects their behavior and they don't even see it.
Yes.
So this is that anticipation stage. Some of you have already gone through it. We through anticipating. We know now. Don't need to anticipate no more. We're good. But if you're early in the disease cycle, you're probably anticipating what's next. Kind of wondering, anybody in the room feel like that might be where you are? Kind of early in the process? Even if your loved ones that is in advanced stages, if you just started taking care of them, you might be at that point. So not knowing, and you're doing more, you find yourself doing more. And I want you to know, that that's Mom and Diane. Diane's in the back, where's Mom? There's Pat and Mom. So I like taking pictures of us and having us reflect who we are. Stage one. Stage two is adjustment. You just started supporting the loved one. You already had a life. So you had a life, and what you're doing now is you are making adjustments to your life. You're figuring out how do I integrate this stuff, this new role, while possibly working full time, which may require me at some point to quit my job or adjust my hours in my job. But if you're wealthy, you can keep working, and then you just hire somebody to do it for you. So it's an adjustment period. You're learning more because you're spending a lot of time. So if the disease is dementia, you start reading, you start talking, you start meeting the family members that might have had dementia in the family, and no one ever really talked about it. So those are the things that we're doing at the anticipation stage. It is a new role for you. When you're at work, say a job that you go to and they pay you. You got a totally new job. Talk to me about what you do early in that job. You just got assigned a new job. What do you do? Asking lots of questions? Yes, what else? Doing some research? I heard somebody else. She said she's shadowed. What she could do is, in this role, you can find another caregiver and go over and see what they do every day. Because again, knowing that your loved one's dementia journey may be different, but there's some similarities that you're going to go through. So I make this analogous to having a new job. And all that's needed in a new job for you to kind of be successful is to do a whole lot of learning and be open to the learning in the process. Yes. I want you to also know you might feel slightly overwhelmed. Because new jobs are kind of like, oh my God, I didn't realize there was that much stuff to do here. They told me all I was doing was taking care of my mama. Yeah. One lady told me once, she said, I said to myself, I got this. This is going to be easy. I take care of mom anyway. She said, in 6 months, I said, I don't have this. But at least you're open to learn. Your hands up in the back. Yes, ma'am. I should probably pick this up. Furman's probably going to say pick this up. She said we should also be patient with ourselves. Because in any new job, you're not going to get it in 1 day, 2 days, 3 days. It's going to take a while. And with a loved one you're supporting, you also need to know it's not going to happen overnight. Because it becomes very emotional for you. So that's adjustment. The next phase, which is 3, did that one move at all? No, it didn't. Identification. And the essence of this, and this is just a model I found online. It's nothing that I created, and put some ideas and thoughts around it. Some of the things that you start feeling, when you start identifying, you start getting into the role. At some point, did you start thinking as you were moving through these stages, I can do this. This is tough. And it's tough, but you know what? I can do this. I'm the right person to do this. Matter of fact, when I think about it, I'm probably the only person in the family that could have done this. You start, because truthfully, there's something about you that's unique. Yes, there is, and that's a positive. It might be you have a heart of giving. You may have the patience already to be supportive of someone else. You know what I'm saying? Because there's some key characteristics about us that make us qualified automatically. You start building a relationship with your loved one. By the time this journey with dementia is over, I felt like I loved my mother more. Because we didn't get along at all. I didn't like her and she didn't like me. And we just acknowledged that. Yeah, put it on the side. And I need you to know, she put me out when I was 15 and put all my clothes on the front porch and said, now go live somewhere else. So no, I was carrying around some baggage when I became her caregiver. And sometimes we do too. We need to acknowledge that. Some of us have unresolved issues with people that we're supporting. One young woman said, my father used to beat me, and now I've got to take care of him. So you got to be honest with yourself on what issues you're dealing with and how you deal with them. And so back to my shirt, we all have stuff. You need to acknowledge your own stuff. So a better relationship. You also start, yes, sir.
You know, one other one you mentioned in terms of caregivers have certain personalities.
Yes.
You say it differently. But a lot of times in some families, it could be 8 to 9 people inside there, and only one person
Yes.
takes the responsibility of having caring.
Yes.
Caring to be willing to do.
Let me repeat this. He said sometimes you can have 8 or 9 people in the family, and only one person steps up to that role. Sometimes that then causes confusion in the family. And for us, sometimes I get mad at that loved one, my family, and say, look, she your mama too. Why am I the only one doing stuff? You got to deal with that emotion because that emotion comes out in how you serve them. Yes, ma'am.
I'm amen to what he said, but it also means, when you said it causes confusion, it does, because then they'll jump on you for doing stuff that they don't agree with, but they didn't.
She said they will jump on you for stuff that you're doing to take care of them, but they wouldn't volunteer to do anything. Well, one of the things that we really want families to work together, if at all possible. You have to make an effort to keep the lines open, to keep communicating, because the goal is to create the best environment for your loved one. Here comes my but. But if the investment costs too much and it's taken away from you and what you can give to your loved one, you might have to figure out ways to let it go. There's one caregiver who told me that I have a sister, and my sister comes over every morning and says to mom, did you have breakfast yet? And guess what mom says? No, they don't feed me here. I don't know who these people are, but they don't feed me here. Now, she then goes to the sister who's there and taking care of mom and says, why you didn't feed mom? I'm in a power position already, y'all. You know that? I'm standing over her. I'm looking down at her. I got an attitude. And she's doing everything she can not to slap me. Well, even if I go in the kitchen, I know you didn't feed her. So what this family did, is they put a schedule of the feeding schedule on the refrigerator. And they lived to that schedule. So if you came over and said, did mom have breakfast? You didn't ask me. Mom, did you have breakfast? She says, no. And she comes to you, schedule's on the wall. I live to that schedule. And they also said, I told them to invite her over any morning. She wanted to come over and prepare breakfast. I'm not trying to keep mom to myself. I just happen to be the one that's doing the work. But you got to do things to stop people from trying to tell you what to do, because there are some things that they can help you with. You should listen. But if you listen and it's no added value, you got to let some stuff just go. Just let it go. Okay, so that you got me into talking about family when we talked about identification. So it's important that the identification, you're really starting to identify with the loved one. Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
When you say that celebrity family members, they tend to, just be just one.
Yes.
My spiritual experience was when God said to me, I didn't tell nobody else to do this. I told you to do it. And that's what I had to go on,
Okay.
you know.
Okay.
I fought it, and then when he told me that, I really stepped up and became the caregiver.
That's great. Many people view their role as caregiver as a spiritual role. But not everybody. But did you hear what she said, though? She fought it. So during that fought it, you might have some disagreements with people on what the roles and responsibilities are. If it worked for you that way, I personally thought it was my mission. I thought it was my mission. But the issue was I still didn't take care of myself the way I should have. My mission was going to kill me if I didn't learn how to take care of myself. And I'm reinforcing that with you. You have one vessel. You got to take care of it. You have to take care of it. It just needs some time and attention, and a little bit of the love that you're giving to your loved one belongs to you. Okay? Hand over here, and then, yes, ma'am.
This is about identification about us, but I want to talk about identification about care receiver. Now, he's got severe cognitive abilities, but his sisters and brothers and kinfolks don't believe it. But they're not even there to help with nothing. They always making arrangements for him, and I keep telling them, you gotta talk to me.
Yeah. And let me repeat what she said. It's one of the most common family issues is that I'm the caregiver and everybody else trying to make decisions and not including me. So as I heard somebody in the room say, stay in your own lane, they think all the lanes are theirs. So what you have to do as a caregiver, in my recommendation, first of all, you got to manage you. You got to manage you, because it would be easy to be mad. It would be easy to have a heart attack. It would be easy to try and change somebody. You need to sit down and try and have a family meeting. Try and have a conversation. If you need a facilitated family meeting, let me know. But you can call a discussion. You're the caregiver. Who hired you?
I'm the wife.
She the wife. And these are her kids? These are his kids?
His siblings.
Okay. I tell you what, we can talk because there's a way to manage that. There's a way to manage that. She says she's not family, I'm the wife. So I feel like she just claimed herself. All right, let me get through these other stages, and then we can use the balance of our time this way. Identification. What were the first two stages? The next one is advocacy. Advocacy is exactly what some people were talking about. You are stepping out there, and you become the voice sometimes of your loved one. And I hope you have the necessary paperwork that gives you the power to make decisions. Because sometimes people step out there trying to be the voice and don't have the right to be the voice. Have the paperwork that says I am the power of attorney for health or the power of attorney for finances, something that gives you a document that tells you that. And I want you all to know I'm doing an online dementia series. And this coming week, Wednesday, I have an attorney coming. So if you're interested in that topic of the legal issues, sign up with me before you leave. It's also free. And it will cover all of the documents you need to make sure that you have the right paperwork. Okay? All right, so advocates, yes, ma'am. Yes, power of attorney for medical, power of attorney for finances. As well as sometimes we're going to talk about wills. Some people would talk about trust. It just varies. But I wanted to bring online an easy way for people to access the information, and I facilitate the discussion with the attorney.
So when you have those papers and you're going to the doctor, I feel like you're talking directly to her
Okay?
instead of to me.
Okay.
And I am the one that is making those decisions for her.
Right.
And then I wind up being the one that answers the questions. But they're not giving me the acknowledgement
Okay.
when I'm in the room.
She said that I'm going to come back there because I saw a hand. She said that she is the person who is responsible for the loved one. When she takes them to the doctor, they don't pay really any attention to her. They talk to the loved one who has dementia. And she ends up having to answer the questions anyway. Let me, you want to respond? Yes.
Okay, that happened to me, right? So when the doctor got through talking, and he had the paper, I asked him, wait a minute, can you repeat that again to me? Then he had attitude. I said, one more time, repeat it to me. Then that's when he looks at me and says, okay, I'll talk to you. I said, so from now on, just stay forward, you talk to me.
Okay. All right.
Because that's what you gotta do.
And the way I handled it,
Very nice.
I have done that, but they're saying that it's not in the system, in the paperwork.
well, you bring a copy of it and hand it to him. Bring a copy and hand it to him. If it's not on the record, it doesn't exist. But let me tell you the other way to do this. I am a believer. I want you to acknowledge my loved one every time they're in the room. And I don't have a problem with you talking to her and directing it. At the end of that conversation, you need to circle back and say, so-and-so and so-and-so. I'm going to honor them and respect them. I get mad when they don't talk to them. That's when I get mad. I'm like, she's sitting right there. She's 89 years old, and you don't even acknowledge her? And you talk about her like she's not even in the room? No, you talk to her first. Then, and if you don't want to acknowledge me, I then say, now let's talk about what kind of decisions we gonna make. My mother would at some point say, have questions she couldn't answer. She would turn to me and say, tell him. Tell him. But because I believe, I am a big one on honoring and respecting them. Because that's my role. I'm going to make sure people acknowledge you and respect you and not treat you like a kid, because we always say, well, they're just like a baby. No, they're not. They are a grown person that's struggling with a brain disease, and I'm going to make you acknowledge them as an adult. That's right. But that, y'all just got me hot just now. She says she carries her POA around. It's important. I recommend that you have it on your person. You give it to the hospitals that you're going to. You give it to the doctors that they're seeing. And then you keep a copy at home in something safe. And then I also keep a copy in the bank so that the bank knows I got a right to talk to you financially. There's a hand in the back. Yes, ma'am. I apologize.
I would just like to know, how soon should you put your paperwork in order? Say, like if you're married to mother and father, you naturally want to acknowledge them.
Right.
But then, down the line, things start to change. So how soon, as a family or whomever,
Right.
like have the power of attorney,
Right.
the wills and the trust, how soon should you start preparing for this? Nobody knows what tomorrow's gonna be.
Right.
But how soon should you, get your stuff in order?
Lawyers recommend, and I suggest, as soon as you start having a concern in terms of my loved one, but in terms of you and you want done for you, you should have it now. Because I want to be in charge of what happens to me. I want to be the one, and I don't want probate court to decide how I'm going to be treated. And if I die without documents, that's what's going to happen. So everybody in the room, let me start with you. Get your personal paperwork right. Determine who you want to care for you. Determine what you want. Do you want to be resuscitated? Do you want to go to a nursing home? Do you want to stay in place at home? Most of us want to age at home. Then who are you going to put in charge of ensuring that that's what happens? Okay, so first, everybody, y'all hear me, please, 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 get your stuff right. And then in terms of my parents, as soon as I realized that something was different, we started talking as a family about the need for paperwork. Because there were 6 of us. And a couple of us should never handle anybody's money. So as you start selecting who will manage your affairs, think about, how many bankruptcies is in their background? Because again, I need somebody who's going to do what's right for me. And one mistake we often make, we often just add our names to their bank accounts, and I know that's for convenience purposes. But if you have a judgment against you financially, and your name is on your parents' account or some loved one's account, they can take the money out of that account. So please know, that's why I'm like, when my stuff, I didn't even put my sister on it. And I only really have a sister. That's about the only person I could. I got a lawyer, put a lawyer on it. She will get everything because I set up a trust. And everything is in the trust, and the trust is established, and it all goes to her. But I had a lawyer to manage it for me. So let's go to the next stage. 2 more stages. That's advocacy. The next stage is exhaustion. Anybody in the room ever just been tired? And then tired of being tired? And it seemed like you don't want to do nothing but sleep, and I don't want to be in contact with anybody. Phone calls, I don't even want a phone. I mean, you can get so exhausted. It's like, I believe that everybody in this room has to have someone in your life that fills you up. Because as a caregiver, you're constantly giving out. And, you know, be it spiritual, be it physical, somebody's got to fill your cup. And if you don't have it, start thinking about where am I going to get my cup filled. That's important. You could just get to the place of being totally exhausted. You don't want to think about anything. You don't want to be around anyone. And then you look at your loved one. You love them dearly. I don't even want to go see them. I'm just tired. I'm going to reinforce. It's time to do some respite. It's time to take some time out for you. It's time to find somebody you love and trust to say, I can't do this right this minute. Let's get some other coverage, and let me go on vacation. And your vacation may all be on the back porch breathing. You don't always have to travel. My mother used to say, get on the front porch and watch the grass grow. I'm like, no, I can find something better than that to do. But exhaustion is real. You're tired. The demands are going up. You're neglecting yourself. You have to be a priority in this list. Everybody in the room, I am important. I am important. I deserve to be healthy. And guess what? I'm going to make it happen. Now, the next time I see you and I say, what'd you do to make it happen? Don't look at me cross-eyed. I want to hear the answer to that question. All right, that's exhaustion. Then the transition. At some point, your loved one's going to pass, whatever term you're comfortable with. They're going to die, they're going to leave us, they're going to go meet the Lord, or whatever your faith is or your belief. And as that transition starts, first of all, you have a major role during the transition. Anybody supported a loved one as they were passing? That's draining all by itself. And physically draining, but it's emotionally draining at the same time, because you start coming to the reality that they're leaving. But there's a part of you that says, you know what, I'm okay with that. And then you feel guilty. I ain't supposed to think that. Yes, you can. If it's time to go, you don't have anything to do with it. And somebody said, well, they died because I went on vacation. No. They died because it was time. Each of us has an appointed time that is going to present itself, and there ain't no bargaining at that point. I know they bargained in the Bible, and he gave some extra time, and then he hated that extra time. I said, boy, that's an example. You shouldn't be dealing with it that way. But I need you at this point to know that things are changing. And what I found with many caregivers, after their loved one passes, they don't have a clue what to do. Because they didn't stay in touch with anybody. They didn't connect with anybody. They didn't do anything to take care of themselves. Start doing something for you. So that when that void occurs, and when someone dies, that never, ever closes. People say, well, you'll heal. No, you'll always have that space in your heart for that person. Always. But you learn how to handle it. Instead of crying every time you hear the name, you start thinking about some of the wonderful things we did together. I think sometimes about my mother and some of the silly things she did. And I just laugh. She got after my nephew once, said, boy, get out of that shower because you causing my gas bill to go up. I'm like, Ma, how does this affect your gas bill? But I didn't want to argue with her. So I'm like, boy, get out of that shower. You make the gas bill go up. But that's why I say there's some special moments that you have as a caregiver. And sometimes nobody has them but you. And I think I told you that my mother at one point in her journey said to me, and nobody has this but me, she said, I don't know you. And you know that's one of the things that people struggle with. But she said, but I love your spirit. I grin every time I hear that. I love your spirit. But she had no clue who I was. But I said she knew me. She knew my spirit. She didn't know my name, but she knew my spirit. I believe they know us based on how we engage them. I really believe that. All right, those are the stages of transition. And as you went through this, you realized that you may be in a number of the different positions in the different places, but know that these are real transitions. They may overlap some. Nothing's totally linear or that clean, but the goal was conversation. Because at the end of this assessment, I need you to say to yourself, this is what I need to do for me. Because that's my question. Based on what you experienced so far, what is it you need to do for you? Just one thing. And there's some cards in the center of the table. My ask is you take one of those cards, you don't have to show it to anybody, and write one thing that you need to do for you after hearing someone walk through the stages and the challenges at each stage. What's one thing that I need to do for me? Because each stage brings about different challenges. I'm going to give you all of a minute. So grab the cards, pass them around, and nobody has to see this but you. Yes, ma'am. Well, what are you feeling?
Like when you say stage six, it's like you're trying to, a lot of characters don't know what to do kind of thing. It's like I feel like I'm playing catch up. I feel like I'm playing like everything. Like I'm so behind, and life is still life, and people are still, family is still on their
Right,
expectations,
right.
but it's like you ain't did this yet, you know.
Right.
So
No.
and then it's like the person is gone. And they got bills, and like we have family, like it was me and my brother,
Right.
and we have family, and it was like, well, this is bill, and y'all, these bills have to be paid, and I'm like, Harvey, I look at the dates of these bills, and I was like, I wasn't living here.
Okay, sounds like you're in the final phase of transition is closing whatever has to be closed.
Yeah,
Closing that. But you may need to consult a lawyer, because my understanding is debt dies with the debtor unless your name is on it. Okay, so I'm not a lawyer. I'm dangerous in that regard. So I would recommend that because you're going to have a number of things pop up, and as they pop up, get somebody to help you. Don't and hear me. I'm sorry. Furman, we finish that way I can say what I want to say. So let me do this. Thank you all for being here. I appreciate you. Y'all know I look forward to seeing you every week. We have some gift cards we're going to pass out, and I hope everybody wrote something down.
We write it down based on stage 6.
On any stage that you feel like you are. And after you heard everything that we went through, what is one thing that you're willing to do for you? All right, I got a vacation.